Good evening, Fernwood. It is your serious funster Neil, and it is time for the series finale of Mary Hartman. Mary Hartman. Yeah, this is episode 325, the end of the entire enchilada from July 1st, 1977. Yesterday's episode took us to the edge, so it's time to reflect on that moment. Tom Hartman has been struggling with the loss of Mary Hartman after she ran away with Dennis Foley, and he is putting up posters in police stations around the country. His daughter Heather thinks that perhaps he is taking things a bit far, and Tom says that he really misses Mary and wonders why Heather hides her emotions. To this, Heather rails at Tom, saying that of course she feels things, but she can't make things better, and she's really worried about Tom because he seems to be going to a really dark place. He goes to comfort his daughter, but then is interrupted by neighbor Charlie Haggers and starts to take out some of his aggression on Charlie, as then they're again interrupted by Grandpa Larkin, who is there for some mayonnaise so that Martha can make sandwiches to sell in Kathy's business. This is all too much for Tom, so he sends everyone away. And then he gets a call from his mother-in-law, Martha Shumway, who asks about the mayonnaise, and Tom is completely losing his grip. Over at the Bide-A-Wee Motel, the Jeter family is getting on each other's nerves. Wanda tells Mickey Mo and Adeline to take it easy on Merle because he's had it rough, but then Merle walks in and he seems surprisingly chipper. Merle knows that his political career is completely washed up, and he tells everyone in the room that his best choice is to completely come clean with all of the scandals that have been surrounding their family. Merle is planning a press conference at the Capri Lounge where he will be honest about everything that has happened in his life, and this hits the Jeters with some level of shock. At this point, Adeline and Mickey Mo decide it's time to jump ship because an honest politician is no politician at all. And Wanda, seeing one problem resolved, thinks that that was a trick that Merle used to get them out of their lives, but Merle says that he is completely honest. Then at the Capri Lounge, Merle and George Shumway are drowning in their sorrows as Tom Hartman comes in to join them for a Diet Pepsi. Each of these men has hit a low in their lives very recently, and Tom takes it even further and imagines a place where he could just jump and lose it all. And with this, George and Merle accompany Tom to Loser's Leap. After the commercial break, Kathy Shumway comes to the Capri Lounge looking for George, and Big Al tells her exactly what they are planning, to take Tom to Loser's Leap to jump off, and then we are at Loser's Leap with Tom looking over the precipice. Tom seems somewhat hesitant to jump, though Merle and George do egg him on toward it. They think that it's a brave and noble thing that he is doing. George tells Tom that he will take care of Heather, and then Tom spends a few moments staring over the edge and considering his final moment. Tom looks back at Merle and George and wonders, and then the moment is interrupted by Kathy, who pulls him away from the edge. And all three of them chide her for ruining that moment, and Merle is darkly hopeful with Tom, telling him that perhaps someday he'll get a second chance. Everyone, this whole week has been really rough. So we have one episode left. Let's watch.
Mary Hartman! Mary Hartman!
Investigate.
Order. Now let's have some order. Okay? Now, citizens of Fernwood, you all know why we're here tonight. We're here to remove from the helm of our little ship of state a man who is totally bereft of any leadership qualities whatsoever. A man who has deceived us, betrayed us, sold us down the river, and back again. A man who has overcharged us on gasoline. I'm speaking, of course, of Merle Jeter.
I say we run that sucker out of town.
No, please. Let's keep this civilized and according to parliamentary procedure. Wait. I move we vote now on whether to throw the sucker out of town. All right. Now.
Sorry to barge in on your little meeting here, gentlemen.
Don't do it, Merle.
Come here, Wanda. Let's take a seat over here. Is it all right here?
Yeah.
Billy, I'd just like to say a few words to the good folks of Fernwood. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it does my weary heart good to see you exercising your right of free assembly here, even if it is at the expense of my dignity and my pursuit of happiness. Folks, this is about the toughest thing I've ever had to admit in my life. But I do admit that Billy's right. I did abuse the public trust.
I smell a trick.
What about that ex-con that you hired to be the chief of police?
Well, that's a perfect example, neighbor. I did hire a criminal to head up the police force.
And how about Big Honey and that prostitution ring?
You tell him, honey.
Right, that is another one. And it's good to see you here, ma'am. If you're talking about that bleak November night last year, happened to be my wedding night, too, where I went over to the Crescent Mortuary, soliciting a little illicit immorality. And I got it, but I think the point is here, folks, that I'm standing up here, Merle Jeter, your former mayor, confessing to you that I've cheated you, that I lied to you, I abused your office of mayor, I corrupted your public morality. I stand here deserving to be booted out of office. I let you down, folks.
Wait a minute. Now, exactly how do you plan on making reparations for all the harm you've done? You know, talk is cheap, Merle.
Yes, it is cheap, Billy. You can sit down, Bill. But I'll tell you something. This here watch ain't cheap. And there's a Cadillac Eldorado parked right out in front there. Cost me 15 big ones. Folks, I'm gonna leave that stuff here, like everything else. But I would like to say one more thing before I go. I'm reminded of one of my all-time favorite movies. It's released by Columbia Pictures. No, I think it was Warner Brothers. Entitled The Treasure of Sierra Madre. Well, as I look around the room there, I see that rings a bell with quite a few of you folks. And if you recall, toward the end of the picture there, they're getting ready to leave the mountain. They already sucked it dry, took all the gold out. And it was Walter Houston that said, "Wait a minute, boys, we ain't leaving yet. We gotta leave this mountain the way we found her. We're gonna close her up." And so they did. Took them about a day and a half. When they're finished, I think it was the late, great Humphrey Bogart that looked around at the mountain and said, "Bye, mountain, and thanks." Folks, that's about where I find my own self here today. I'm gonna leave Fernwood. For good. And I'm gonna leave just the way I come into town. I'm leaving without a shred of dignity. Goodbye, Fernwood. Thanks.
He is flashing.
You didn't have to do that.
Yeah, I did, Norman.
He's doing that for us.
Heather, don't look. Look, hey, George, remember something about Mo now. He saved your house. Now remember that. Remember that?
Yeah. And he did talk to Foley about saving your marriage.
That's right.
He kicked Big Honey out of town.
Right.
He's been a good mayor.
You're darn right. He's been a good man. Don't look now.
He's the best tipper we got.
Bet your life he is. I'll tell you something about him. He happens to be a fine man. I'll tell you that. You know that? I mean, how many honest men do you find who are also liars? Not that many, right? I tell you, Merle Jeter's the best mayor this town ever had. I bet you that. Who's with me? I say we keep it. Let's cover your nakedness there. Yes, sir. I say, Merle Jeter here. The honest man who lies. Yes, sir. I say,
My wife.
A recent amputee? Oh, Lord, take my kidneys instead of hers.
Oh, you must be the Shumways. I am Miss Finken, your grief therapist.
Grief? What grief? The little baby's just getting a kidney. She's gonna be fine.
I'm a professional social worker, so if you would like to weep, go right ahead.
Oh, my God.
Excuse me, but if you're feeling a little better, I'd like to go on my break now.
Yeah.
Oh, George, do you think Kathy's going to be all right?
I don't know, Martha. She's gonna be all right. She'll be all right.
Oh, even when you lie, it makes me feel better.
Oh, Shumway, honey, you have got to forgive us for being late. We're not too late for the operation, are we?
Oh, no, there's plenty of time left to console us.
Oh,
although I do believe I'm unconsolable.
Hey, gang. Hey, I'm sorry we're late, but Heather and I got all the way here before we realized old Grandpa wasn't in the back seat. I could have sworn you were there in the back seat.
I could have sworn I was there, too.
Oh, it is just so wonderful to have all you lovely loved ones here with us in our hour of great tragedy.
Can I go wait in the car? This looks depressing.
Mom, look, this is no tragedy. Don't be silly. Kathy's gonna be fine. She'll be up on her feet in no time.
No, Tom. It's a very risky operation. We might lose our little pumpkin.
Hey.
Oh, George, that can't be true.
No. Now listen, I just want everyone here to know that I'm sure the Lord has totally and completely forgiven Kathy for all of them little, kind of sinful and sort of affairs and everything that she's had. And the truth of the matter is that she's going to be 100% fine, just Jim Dandy.
Oh, Loretta, you are so kind.
Well, honey, any Christian would tell you the same thing.
I do not wish to name names, but some of you here don't look too happy. But then I'm sure you don't realize that your gloomy attitude could have a dire effect on our patient's life.
Miss Finken?
Oh, Mr. and Mrs. Haggers.
Hi.
And how is your son?
We gave him back to Bigfoot.
Well, anyway, they're about to bring Kathy to the operating room. Now, it is essential that she maintain a positive attitude. Please do not discuss the operation, and everyone, please try to be happy.
Here she goes. Hey.
Hi, Kathy. What's new?
Yeah. How's the food here, huh?
You're looking pretty good, Princess.
What is wrong with all of you? Don't you know I'm about to go in and have the most scary, disgusting experience of my life? And you're asking me how the food is? I might not get out of there.
You know, it's not too late to change your mind. It's not too late to change.
Well, that's more like it.
Well,
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Daddy. Bye.
You're waiting right outside the door.
I'm praying for you, Kathy.
I'll be waiting right here. I'll be waiting right here.
Yay. Well, I am just ashamed of all of you.
Have they brought Both Gimble down yet?
No, but he's a heck of a guy, Mr. Blumberg, giving his kidney like this. You must be very worried about him, huh?
On the contrary, I'm delighted. That kidney is going to make him a star.
Hold it.
Better
be patient, folks.
That didn't work, huh? You want to...
Hey.
Have you got the headline yet? Now listen. Gimble has heart, donates kidney.
There you are, sir. Gimble has heart. Donates... Sorry about the flash. Heart donates kidney. Boy, when is Mr. Gimble's show going to be on the air, Mr. Bloomberg?
Oh, it's very shortly, assuming he isn't silly enough to not recover from this.
Oh, boy, what an incredibly courageous, noble, selfless thing to do.
No, I'm not. No, this is ridiculous. No, I'm going to cut. You'll be cutting and I'll bleed. I don't bleed. I don't want to bleed. I don't want to heal. Mr. Gimble, you are fighting your sedative.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Gimble. Thank you for saving my little girl's life.
Mrs. Shumway,
Yes.
my patient is ready for surgery. You are contaminating him.
I'm contaminated. Hey, I'm contaminated. You can't do it when I'm...
You blow the operation, baby, we got no show.
Listen, you're going to go in there and save my baby.
Oh, God.
Now, whoever said that going into show business was easy?
Bye. Good luck.
Yeah, good luck.
That's the surgeon. He's a very nice guy.
Oh, Mrs. Shumway, and I can't stand to see you cry. Everything's going to be fine. Now, listen, everybody. This operation is going to be 100% successful.
She's absolutely correct.
That's because the good Lord is watching up above over Kathy now.
And because I've got a TV show riding on it.
Oh, wait a minute. Here comes something.
Mark.
You all right?
It hurt. It hurt. But I'm proud.
There's your headline, Clemens. It hurt, but I'm proud.
It hurt, but I'm proud. Yeah.
But, doctor, how was I to know?
How were you to know? You're a doctor. That's how.
But what's happened to Kathy?
It had all the earmarks of a kidney.
But what happened to her?
Listen, I'm going to put my fist through somebody's mouth pretty soon.
I'm sorry, Mr. and Mrs. Shumway.
Kathy died?
No.
What happened?
Nothing's wrong. As a matter of fact, nothing is wrong with her.
Your daughter is in perfect health. We didn't need to do any transplant.
You lucked out, Gimble.
Now, wait a minute. I want to know what's going on around here. Now, she was supposed to have a kidney transplant, right?
Mr. and Mrs. Shumway, has Kathy been under duress of any kind lately? Anything physical or mental that might produce an unusual stress?
Well, I don't know, maybe, bankruptcy, maybe, I don't know.
Exactly.
You mean like the time her boyfriend got strangled?
Oh, yeah, and her other boyfriend left her for her mother.
Then she had a little baby that nobody wanted to be the father of. And he was kidnapped out of the laundromat during the dry cycle. But nothing unusual.
Mr. and Mrs. Shumway, Kathy has an ailment that is totally non-existent, what you might call an hysterical kidney disease.
Hysterical?
Uh-huh.
Oh, but the lab test said that she needed a kidney.
Well, all she really needed was a shoulder.
A shoulder transplant?
No, a shoulder to cry on, Mr. Shumway.
Oh, well, that's my daughter. You see, she keeps all of her troubles inside. She's Shumway all the way.
Just as I thought.
Fool the hell out of me.
Oh, here she comes.
It's Kathy. It's Kathy. Yep. Kathy, are you all right?
Kathy, she all right? She all right? No, she's all right. She's unconscious.
She's unconscious. Is she all right?
She all right?
That's my baby, huh?
Is she all right?
She's still very groggy. We just put her under.
Yes, that's when I read the chart. Don't you ever read these things, Doctor?
Hey, give the baby a break. I said I was sorry.
Wait, now, y'all. The most important thing is that Kathy's all right.
Right.
Is she supposed to stop breathing like that?
What?
Yes.
What? It's a reaction to the anesthesia. She's gone into cardiac arrhythmia.
Oh, Kathy, cardiac arrhythmia.
Cardiac arithmetic? What does that add up to?
Her heart is stopped.
She's not responding. That's code blue.
Hey,
Code blue.
Wait, get a defibrillator.
What do we do?
We pray.
Thank you, Doctor. Folks, I think, as the newly reinstated mayor here, it's up to me to say a few words to the Lord,
Amen,
if you will.
Merle.
Yeah.
Merle, go ahead.
Well, Lord, God knows what you got going for yourself up there, but
Oh, standing calm.
if you would, just take a break for a couple of minutes
Visit us in our hour of need and
and
tell
shine your light down on this little child.
Everybody, wait a second.
Okay,
Hey.
Stand after six.
Wait, just one second. Y'all, I mean, I know that everybody has good intentions, you know, and we're all trying to pray up to the Lord, but I think it's just too confusing for him. I don't believe God can get our message, you know, with everybody. And since we all have a different brand of Lord and everything, I think we should just all put our voices together in one, and I think the best way to do that is with the song. He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the whole wide world in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the little baby baby. Where? In his hands. He's got the little baby babies. In his hands. He's got the little bitty babies. Where? In his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands.
Somebody start praying fast.
She's alive. She's all right.
Thank you, Lord.
I'm coming.
Mary'd be so happy if she were here now.
Going to church every Sunday from here on in, honey.
She isn't happier somewhere else.
I'm going to cut
I wonder if she's coming home.
Wait a huh?
I wonder if she's found her dream.
All right, somebody got hurt.
I wonder what she's doing right now.
Helps himself.
Hi, Ann. What's for dinner?
Swanson's turkey. Ben,
Yeah.
how do you like the floor? You see that glow?
What glow? You mean the waxy yellow buildup?
What do you mean? There can't be a waxy yellow buildup.
You asked.
Huh. It does look a little yellow, doesn't it?
Mary Hartman! Mary Hartman!
That there is a journey. It stings a little bit. It stings. It really, honestly, it's all stuff that makes absolute sense and stuff that I feel like I was thinking all the way through. But let us get to the episode, which starts at the Capri Lounge at the Get Merle Out rally. The whole town, even Merle's friends, are primed to get him out of office. And of course, Merle comes in and admits to the things that he has done, right? The two things that I think of as actual crimes, well, certainly appointing Tex to the chief of police position is problematic at least, right? Like, it's just bad. His involvement with Big Honey, he slept with a prostitute. Fine. I'm in favor of sex work, so I'm not really thinking too hard on that. However, the town might be judgmental because that's how people deal with sex work. Most of the other stuff, I don't know how I feel about it. It wasn't addressed in this episode, but it comes to Merle being honest and then stripping down to show how little dignity he has. And that's when the town completely turns around and believes that he has been the best mayor ever. So, it's kind of like Springfield in The Simpsons, where people just rally around whatever, right? Reality has very little to do with it. All I will say is that Merle was honest here, and I did not expect it to turn the way that it did, which I guess is to be expected. The unexpected, I mean. Then we spend most of the episode resolving Kathy's story, that she has this transplant that she needs. Well, we find out later that it's not real, but it starts with Martha praying in the hospital and George coming up, and then Miss Finken shows up for some reason. She was there, as the social worker that was dealing with Johnny Doe's case, and apparently she's got another gig happening, so she gets around. I expect that if she has this many jobs, that in the future she will be the next Big Honey, because, Big Honey had a lot of jobs. But this is really everyone coming together in the show for, I suppose, a final send-off. I think they probably understood that this story was going to continue, that Fernwood would go on a bit farther, because, there are 3 spin-offs at least that I can think of. Or, depending on how you think about it, 2 spin-offs, and then Forever Fernwood is just a retitling of Mary Hartman, Mary Hartman. All of these characters coming together and kind of dealing with what's going on, right? Merle has been resolved. I think Tom having that moment yesterday above the edge of Loser's Leap, that was him coming to the absolute rock bottom of his emotional journey of losing Mary, and he's over it at this point, which I think is good. I really want to hear from him about it, but he seems to have resolved it. And then Kathy shows up and everyone tries to cheer her on, but she kind of feels like that's weird for folks to be so positive as she's about to go into the surgery. I mean, typically medical stuff, it's better to be positive, but Kathy would rather have people join her in her disgust, and that's Ms. Finken's reaction to say, well, I'm disappointed in you all. Then Sid Blumberg shows up with Harold Clemens. That's a first and last episode appearance for Harold Clemens, to egg Barth on into the operating room. Barth is completely against this process. We come back from the commercial break, and Barth is being wheeled out of the operating room, and it hurt, but he's proud, right? And that's good enough for Blumberg. That is probably boding well for the first episode of Fernwood 2 Night, which you'll be watching in a few days. But it turns out that again, there has been a misreading at the Fernwood Hospital, right? Last year, they thought that Loretta was pregnant, but it turned out to be a fibroid tumor. And now they think that her kidney is failing, but no, she's just stressed. And she just needed a person to talk to. Hey, that was the moral that I came up with yesterday. You should find someone to talk to. There are some really bad mishaps. Kathy almost dies. She is having a reaction to the anesthesia, and they need to find a way to bring her back to life. And the hospital starts shaking, and the power goes out. And eventually they are able to wake her up. The whole room celebrates. And Tom, who I had said was over Mary, is wondering where Mary is and hoping that she is happy. And where we see Mary is with Dennis Foley in about the same place that she was at the beginning of the series with Tom. And that's it, right? Like, while Dennis was pursuing Mary, he was this white knight. And then he finally gets Mary, and he's just as human as Tom. Ariel Malonga had posted her own question of the week back in January, which was, do we really think that Mary should stay with Tom? At least Dennis is sweet to her. My response then was, no, Mary shouldn't stay with Tom. She does have some very unresolved feelings in that relationship. Tom had unresolved things that he is beginning to resolve, I think. But Dennis, while he was approaching Mary, was completely disgusting, and now we see him as a real person, maybe. And by that I mean he's just as awful as Tom. Mary is in no better place for chasing this dream. Dennis, in a real marriage, is just as awful as Tom. And I think the things that he did along the way do not paint him well. I wonder about Mary. If her dream was to be a homemaker in a loving home, I don't know how that dream works. I suppose that there are couples that do have very loving relationships. There have to be. I have heard that they exist. Mary's relationship to Tom, there was love in it, but it was very troubled, and neither Mary nor Tom really had the tools to bring their marriage together. And while they both looked for those tools, neither of them found them. I think it's fair to say that Tom failed in this relationship, but also Mary failed in this relationship. Something that I wished, as Ariel brought up the question of how Tom and Mary don't belong together. Well, I don't believe that they belong together either. Definitely do not believe that Dennis and Mary belong together, and that's clear now. That's a disgustingly satisfying resolution for me, because Mary went to chase this person who seemed like a dream to her, and sadly, he is as awful as anyone else in reality. So, I don't know. I don't think that means don't chase your dreams, right? As Mary is the main point of view of this show, and as Mary has deluded herself at times or hidden away her feelings from everyone around her, I find her position to be really difficult. And I don't know, like I said, the moral that I feel of this show is you better find someone to talk to about the things you're feeling. And some of that now, looking at Mary, means you have to be able to open up about your feelings. I don't know if I want to see what happens with Mary Hartman and Dennis Foley in the future. I would like to know Dennis as a person, right? Like, he, during the show, was pretty much this slobbering dog of a romantic figure. And I don't mean to say that he was like a slob, but that he pretty much had one flavor in this show, which was his obsession. Though I really dislike Dennis, I would have appreciated, I suppose it's fanfic at this point, I would have liked to know what his perspective as a human being is, because everything he did during this show disgusted me so much. But I suppose that's up for debate, right? Like, I don't know, my opinion is that neither Tom nor Dennis is the right place for Mary. I feel like Mary and Tom have feelings that still need to be resolved, but, you know, you lose the person you've been with forever, then you have to be alone for a little while until you're not. Next week, we will be starting Fernwood 2 night, and I'm not sure exactly what that's going to mean for Good Evening Fernwood, except that I'm going to continue watching it. It's not a narrative show, at least the way that I perceive it. I've never seen any episodes of Fernwood 2 night. It seems to be more of a variety show with a kind of fictional world that it sits in. So I'm not sure how I'll be analyzing it. I'm not sure if I will be doing recaps. I certainly want to reduce the amount of time that I've spent editing every single episode. So, you know, I might take it a little bit more casual. I would love to continue the conversation, and hey, it's a new starting point for all of us. So everyone who has been here, everyone who is here today, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for leaving your thoughts, feelings, and impressions down in the comments. Thank you for taking in this series finale, and we will see you next week in Fernwood.